I'd like to bring Ken Fong up and tell us about, what other story can tell.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. And I asked Joe how much time you give it to me. He said, limitless. I don't know. And I really like Tony's story. Tony's a storyteller. And I asked him, do you know where your name Tony come from? So he did not know. I tell you where your name come from. And when the early immigrant from Italy came to the United States, they spoke no English. So look at the paper, what's your name? You ask. Oh, well, look at it. To New York. To New York, huh? Coming from Italy, New York. This is my name, Tony. That's why most of the earlier Italian, that's why they call Tony. That's exactly his name is. Now he knows where his name came from. Well, anyway, and my family also have a history of immigration to this country. I didn't know that my grandfather's father came to the United States. And he came here in the early day, the Chinese American, came to the United States because of labor. Go need the labor. That's why they built the Transcontinental Railroad, right? But this generation of Chinese from China essentially changed the landscape in our country here. Not like our grandfather or great-grandfather came here by labor. They came here because they want to get a higher education. In the last 30 years, all those PhD, all those talent that we see in our country right now, mostly came from China. That changed the landscape, intellectual landscape in our country today. And that's the reason why there is a little bit issue between the United States and China. Well, anyway, that's a long story. And but I want to let you know that I came here in 1967, 50-some years ago. Then you know what my age is. And I came as a teenager. And so I'm more bicultural, just like most of you are. Not like, our assemblyman, and he's a completely, what we call ABC. ABC means, American-born Chinese. Even him and I has a difference in terms of our culture. Is that true? Evan? See, and actually, the Chinese American or Asian American, they are very different among themselves as well. Sometimes we see it differently because we may not be able to tell the difference, but there is a lot different. But also the Asian American, look at the white American. They are all from Europe. Don't treat them equally. The Russian are very different from the English. So they're also different. That's exactly this country is all about. I never, at this point right now, I never apologize to people I'm less than Americans. Because I'm Americans. I'm immigrant Americans, right? So that is what we have to regard ourselves. Don't never apologize for being Americans. You're American. That's why our contribution to this country had to be real and unique in such a way that we have to acknowledge it. So that's the way how I think right now. And so the contribution of Asian American or Chinese American, particularly, I know, you go back to the early days. Who actually found a company called what's N1's company called? Wang. Actually, he was the first prototype of personal computer came from Wang's company, Chinese American company. So who actually created this digital? I'm not young. I just want to tell you. Sometimes I have a memory problem, So who actually created the Yahoo? Jerry Yang, right? And that's the reason why it gave rise to what? Google. Who actually enabled you to watch YouTube every day. It's put together by Steve Chen, yeah. And how about you and I use what's the thing that we use every day? Sometimes we forgot to pay that one. This is what?
The Netflix?
What's the thing I use every day? Zoom,
Zoom.
right? We don't have to pay for it. It's by adding in, right? So you have to understand that the Asian American or Chinese American have contributed mightily to our country, this country. The question is that why is that we are so hesitant to tell the story? And let somebody tell the story, and we have to do that ourselves. And if we don't do it, then you actually are not actually serving our country, America, well. And this is what this country is all about. We got to do it. So a big job right now for Tony, So we have to help him. So you're going to tell the story for the next, what? Well, you're young, right, compared with me. So you have another 30 or 40 years to go. And tell the story. The story had to be told. So not because we like to have a credit. This is one of the fabric of American story, and we got to do it. Thank you very much.